Guys, I've realized that I've reached the point that I can't talk about contemporary art anymore before we talk about money, and in order to do that, we're gonna have to talk again about the goddamn banana. Hi, welcome back to Modern Art for Haters, the show where I tell you about art and you don't have to like it at all. And today we're gonna talk about money. And when it comes to art, there's three roles that happen in the art world. You have the people making art, you have the people seeing art, and you have the people paying for the art. And these three roles are all tangled in together. You can't make art full-time if nobody's paying for it. You can't see the art if nobody's making it or paying for it. And the art that you pay for doesn't have any commercial value if nobody has seen it. All three roles need each other, and that can be a really tense and complicated thing. We're going to talk today about the people who pay for the art, but I would like to point out that I am making this video from the inside of a 17-year-old car that when I bought it a year ago, I could not pay cash for. So when we talk about the world of art collecting and art patronage, I do not have the perspective of an insider. It also means when we talk about things like a $6 million banana, that does make me want to throw up. Now, if you are somebody who pays for art and pays for it on a large scale, the scale that keeps museums open and artists in full-time work, you might be doing that for one of three things. Because you love art. You want more of it in the world. You would like to be a patron of the arts. 2, because owning the art makes you look cool. 3, because art is actually a really good asset. It's a really good way to hold on to, invest in, and hoard money in a way that has like a lot of tax loopholes. And so because of the ways that people pay for and support the art, you have passionate, dedicated patrons who are sometimes being really inclusive and are sometimes only really giving opportunities to insiders. You have people paying whatever people tell them to for art just because it's going to make them look cool, but they don't really know anything about it. And then you have a bunch of really rich people swapping money back and forth by using works of art. If you think about how the art industry can be used for a bunch of rich people to swap money back and forth with each other and think that that kind of cheapens art, you're not alone, and a lot of artists agree with you. But at the same time, those same artists rely on people like that to give them the money that supports them. So there's tension there, and artists tend to make stuff like this banana to commentate on that tension. Maurizio Cattelan knows that this is something that anyone could make. He knew that because of his existing name and notoriety, he could sell something like this to art collectors for a lot of money. He sold 3 of these bananas for $120,000 each. That is a lot of money. When art is being appraised, basically when people are guessing how much a work of art is worth at the time, they're considering the artist who made it, the value of the materials and the labor, the history of the art, and the cultural value of the art. Because the fame and the cultural value of an artwork is part of the value of the artwork, the more people that talk about that artwork, the more valuable it becomes. Maurizio Cattelan knew this when he made 3 bananas that were duct taped to a wall. He knew by getting art collectors to pay $120,000 for bananas duct taped to a wall, people were going to talk about it. They weren't always going to say nice things about the banana, but that didn't matter. The outrage created by the bananas being taped to the wall was going to inflate the value of the bananas. That worked. One of these bananas has sold for $6 million. When an artwork is sold, the value of that artwork goes from an appraised value, a guessed value, to something they call the realized value, how much money somebody is actually going to pay for it. The interesting thing about the value of this banana is, yeah, it's $6 million, but the artist who made it is not $6 million richer. He sold 3 bananas for $120,000. In those sales, there were other people who took cuts of that money. The people who were getting millions of dollars richer were the people who originally bought those bananas, which means that this was another situation where the art was just a bunch of rich people swapping money back and forth between each other, which was the point of the bananas all along. So a lot of the times the beef that people have with these highly conceptual contemporary pieces of art is not the work of art themselves, it's the amount of monetary value that has been placed on them. Because as much as we say that the value of art is not just the monetary value of art, the monetary value of art does legitimize the art, especially in a capitalist society. This whole frustrating mess of art and money is the reason why a lot of people tend to be haters of contemporary art. And as somebody whose most treasured piece of art that I own is a work of art made by a child that was pulled from a trash can, I would like to say I agree with you. But this does not mean that you need to completely disengage from the world of contemporary art, that you're not allowed to appreciate any of it. Because odds are there is somebody in your local community who is making contemporary art that you can enjoy. So go to your local art showcases and art competitions, visit the student art exhibits from your local colleges, universities, and community colleges. There's good art there that's worth seeing, and not because it's worth millions of dollars, but because it was well made by somebody who cares a lot about it, which means it's contemporary art that you can hate a little bit less.